This week's Ford Fiesta is regarding Henry.
Maybe you should say concerning.
Adam, don't be foolish. The title isn't concerning Henry.
No, you should say concerning regarding Henry.
Concerning regarding Henry? What kind of movie is that? A movie where we focus on people who are thinking about turning their attention to Henry?
That's actually kind of what the movie is.
Oh, yeah.
And what it's pertaining?
It's the Ford Fiesta!
Welcome to the Ford Fiesta. I'm Adam. Gotta get me some of that wit.
And I'm Paul. I don't like eggs. Preston.
I think you got the losing end of the nicknames today. Today we'll be talking about a movie that, outside of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, is an amalgam of things from Harrison Ford's last few movies, bringing together the director of Working Girl, Mike Nichols, and the legal world of Presumed Innocent.
But in this film, Harrison Ford isn't accused of murdering anyone. He wouldn't hurt anyone. He's a super docile, simple man trying to reconnect with his family after being shot in the head by John Leguizamo. Yeah, where's the trial for John Leguizamo? We'll explore that on the Leguizamo Luncheon or something. But today's all about Harrison Ford.
And we'll tell you what Regarding Henry is all about with our patented Movie Guys recap coming up. Although, unlike some of his films, the couple of sentences Paul uttered there really are the entire plot. But first...
What's new in the world of Harrison Ford?
In late October 2023.
Disney announced the end of the Indiana Jones franchise.
Oh, they did? They literally said, that's it for us.
That's it for Indy. Yeah, so no TV show, I guess. Or, does it still mean they could squeak out an origin story for Abner Ravenwood or some other idea they don't have? I mean, maybe, but they did say this is the end of the franchise. Probably because it's the end of Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones. But, there should have been more. I think we could both agree on that. We should have about 8 Ghostbusters movies and maybe like 12 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, there's too much you can do. Obviously, I'd love to see more Indiana Jones movies. I've just went on and on about how much I love Solo, a Star Wars story. I love a Han Solo movie, even without Harrison Ford. But I got to say, mad respect for going, nope, that's the end of it. As soon as Harrison Ford is done playing it, that character is not getting played.
I don't want to see anybody else play him.
No.
River Phoenix played him, and I was cool with that. But maybe we're done. Yeah, so I don't know.
Sean Patrick Flannery, who's the young Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Also, Star Wars Celebration. It was a while ago, but this has seen the release of even more Hasbro figures featuring past and current movies, multiple indies, Short Round, Helena, Belloc, Marcus, and you're going to get all these, right?
Oh, God, yeah. I can't believe these exist, Paul. The ones I have bring me great joy. In fact, they're right out of hand here. I mean, I got Indiana Jones just hanging out. He's all over the place in this house. It's awesome.
He's got the sword he swings that one time. That's how they do it now, right?
Yes, if he needs to defend anybody from a giant hanging gong, this is the Indiana Jones in the white tuxedo that's ready to do it.
So it's not unlike you decades ago, because you're still going to ask your mom for this stuff, right?
Right. I mean, here we are, close to Christmas. I don't know.
Else to it. Elsewhere in the world of Harrison Ford news, you Google Harrison Ford news. Nowadays, way more stuff comes up than we ever expected. But it should be noted that if we're not sad enough that the Indiana Jones franchise is done, but no Emmy nominations for Ford in Shrinking or 1923. In fact, no nomination for Best Comedy or Best Drama for Shrinking or 1923.
For their 2023 seasons.
Jason Segel was nominated for Shrinking, which is a good nomination because it's the best he's been in something, True. I think. And Jessica Williams was also nominated, which is fine by me because I got a little thing for her, I think. Plus, she's very funny.
She's very funny.
And she's funny in that role. But it's mostly her interplay with Paul, the Harrison Ford character in that. Those two were hilarious together, from singing every morning in the car
Amazing.
To like all their interactions about how she drinks water all day and he doesn't understand her young people stuff in his grumpy way on that show. But it would have been nice to see Ford get some recognition. I don't know how many more Oscar nominations might be in his future, but I thought for Emmys here, especially Paul in Shrinking. Shrinking, I thought he had a shot here because it not only required him to be funny, which he was a lot, and they leaned into that grump, which made for a lot of laughs, but also, his character's dealing with Parkinson's and getting older and an estranged daughter and all these other things that I thought he handled very well. So that's a shame.
I mean, there's a little bit of a, he walks in to get the laugh as well, which is a brand new thing for Harrison Ford. So I guess I could see them going, we're not going to give, Herb Tarlick like he does a great job. He comes in, he gets the laugh, but I could see them going, yeah. And also, do you think for the nomination people, they're like, hey, you're a movie guy. This is the TV stuff. You can't just walk into TV and get instant recognition. I don't think so, mister.
Yeah, that's true. There might be a little bit of that.
And also, do you think after Harrison Ford's like, look, I've got nominated for Witness and I've literally never been nominated for an Oscar since then. I don't care. I don't need your awards.
Oh, I'm sure he's like that. He's in his ranch in Wyoming, not giving a damn about anything.
Yeah, what's he care? But, well, I mean, when he does regarding Henry, obviously he's going for the Oscar. This is a, what I call Oscar grubby, Oscar thirsty performance. It's made for Oscars. It's made to be nominated. There's a clip in there that is made to be played when you say the nominees are. But then he was done with it.
Watch Shrinking, the MVP, in my opinion anyway, is Ted McGinley.
Oh,
so
you're
watch
so
him
right.
and that'd be super funny.
One more quick recurring show segment before we get to the recap.
I got one date for you, and this date in Ford.
History.
October 24th, 2013. So 10 years ago. Hard to believe, actually, that it was that long ago. But 10 years ago, Ender's Game comes out. And I believe this is on your list of reasons to do the Ford Fiesta, right? Because you haven't seen it.
Absolutely. I've always felt really guilty about the Harrison Ford movies that I didn't see. And we're coming up on a big patch of them where I just didn't see any Harrison Ford movies during these years. And this is definitely one of the things that starts that conversation of, I need to do a Harrison Ford rewatch because there's so many holes. And that's not even thinking about his early career. This is like, late career. I just stopped watching Harrison Ford movies after Devil's Own.
After Air Force One? Yeah.
Or after Air Force One, right.
We're not currently in the Schmodown, so I can let those dates go.
I didn't go see 6 Days, 7 Nights, and that was dead in the middle of the summer. We were summer movie guys, Paul. When I didn't see a Harrison Ford movie that summer, that started a strain of not seeing Harrison Ford movies for a long time.
Good. Well, we're getting up to a very interesting part of this program.
Yeah, we are.
This program for you. Yeah.
I'm excited.
But I should say the best part of Ender's Game for me was going to Comic-Con, and Harrison Ford showed up to promote it.
Wow.
He had showed up for Cowboys and Aliens previously, and he showed up for this. And, he's notoriously not a guy to show up for a lot of these, but there he was in Hall H, and I got to see him talk. For those on the stream, I'll share a picture. There he was talking about Ender's Game. So that was pretty cool.
So you've been in a room with Harrison Ford. I've been in the room with Han Solo, but that's Alden Ehrenreich. You've been in the room with both Han Solos.
I was there for Cowboys and Aliens, and then I actually went to a 1-hour retrospective with Harrison Ford at the SAG offices. I was second row. It was like he was talking to me practically. So yes, I did that as well too. So a number of times sharing space with him. Never got a conversation or anything, but when he's your favorite actor of all time, it certainly is awesome to have those
really
moments.
Cool.
I was happily sharing them with the other, 6,000 people in that room at Comic-Con. So you're welcome.
That's someplace I don't think he used to go. That's new. No, that's relatively new. Him going to Comic-Con,
he showed up at Cowboys and Aliens in handcuffs. As a joke, he dragged me here.
Right.
They took him off, and they showed up in 2013 for this, so by then he'd grown accustomed to it. But still, that's it. I don't think he ever did anything. I mean, he obviously showed up at Star Wars Celebration for his last Indiana Jones movie, and I think he did Force Awakens, if I'm not mistaken. He showed up for that. Maybe.
Oh yeah,
I can't recall, but he gets out there now more, but not back to Comic-Con itself. I don't believe.
And Paul, I own a copy of Ender's Game that I think I bought for $5 at a Half Price Books in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So I'm ready to watch that one.
And the movie he did after Presumed Innocent was regarding Henry. So let's get to the recap.
In Regarding Henry, Harrison Ford plays attorney Henry Turner. His second Henry in the fourth movie, he's played a Henry. So for those of you keeping score, that's 2 Henrys, 1 Han, 1 John, a Ken, a Mike, a Rick, a Rusty, the same Bob twice, and 1 Willie Bill.
Is that near Pittsburgh?
Harrison Ford also plays his second lawyer.
In a row?
The movie opens almost exactly like Presumed Innocent, with a great Harrison Ford voice giving a monologue about the law. Except instead of a philosophical voiceover about the nature of justice playing over an empty jury box, in Regarding Henry we see a character using the letter of the law for more cynical means, arguing on behalf of a negligent pharmaceutical company to ensure the poverty of an elderly couple.
To give him the upper hand, Henry cynically digs into the private life of the elderly man, revealing a past history of alcoholism and that he falsified his research.
So that our DU-90 could be approved and Devlin McGregor could give you Provasic.
He wins the case, screwing over an old man and retaining millions for a company that makes billions. So Harrison Ford plays his second villain, if you count Allie Fox, which we definitely do. And third villain, if you count every other 5 minutes in Presumed Innocent.
We're innocent.
And that's exactly what the movie is about. Harrison Ford is a jerk dad, and he's going to have to learn to be a better person. He's the classic 90s distant movie father. Always at work or on the cell phone and always smoking a villain stick. Oh, American movie dads, when will you learn to stop being at work so much and on the cell phone all the time in 1992? Even though they only make calls, they don't even text yet. So much time on the phone.
He's concerned only with himself and the problems of his privilege, and is a jerk to his daughter that looks like Danny Cooksey.
Your foster parents are kind of dicks, huh?
Henry Turner is in desperate need for Tinker Bell to throw his cell phone away, or have his child wish on a somehow magical birthday cake. And, right as we get the feeling this movie will end with Harrison Ford running to make his kids play to prove that he's changed his ways and is committed to being a better father, he gets shot in the head.
That's right. Henry goes out for smokes late at night to the same corner store where John Leguizamo robs for his. Henry enters an awkward atmosphere, maybe because the teller is starstruck at the star of House of Buggin' being in his lobby. But actually, Henry has interrupted a robbery. The star of The Pest tries to get Henry's wallet.
Any closer, and I'd be intimate with you. I don't know how long I can keep this thing from firing.
All right, wait a second.
Ooh, I loved it.
That is the only The Pest mashup with Regarding Henry on the internet today. I'm just going to make that claim as well.
And going forward, probably. But Henry, having not yet learned the error of his ways, after all, it's only 5 minutes into the movie, obstinately provokes the robber, who shoots him in the heart, like the place you shoot people to kill them instantly, only to have Henry still standing, now confused in a really great piece of acting, and that truly is. Yeah. Then, we're goofing a lot, but what a great little bit Ford does there.
Oh my God.
Then, as the audience is elated to see he might survive his first shot, the robber shoots him in the head. It's incredibly shocking to see that happen to our Harrison Ford. Finally get hit by 2 bullets after dodging hundreds of them. Henry Turner somehow survives the ordeal of taking a bullet in his belloc and his molar ron. The only answer medical science can offer to explain his remarkable recovery is that he's Harrison Ford. Yes, Henry is still alive, but he could be doing a lot better.
I'm not dead.
He says he's not dead.
Yes, he is. I'm getting better.
No, you're not. You'll be stone dead in a moment.
Annette Bening continues Harrison Ford's string of epic female actors in supporting roles, recently including Anne Archer, Bonnie Bedelia, Helen Mirren, and Sigourney Weaver. She plays Henry's wife, Sarah Turner, whose relief at the survival of her husband only comes after days of grief at his probable death.
Your husband and the others are alive, but unconscious.
Just like Gerald Ford.
He's in a coma and unresponsive. As if that's not enough of a burden, he kept the family financially stable, and on top of that, the man that survived isn't the man she was married to. Her Henry Turner knew how to walk, talk, eat, and lawyer, among other things. She has to teach this husband how to stop drooling, take a shower, and be a person, which is merely metaphorical in every other marriage.
Tragically, not only has he forgotten the ABCs and how to spell, but he's forgotten everything, which means, most tragically, he's also forgotten all of Harrison Ford's movies.
Oh, damn it. Okay. From the top.
Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round, according to the film's tagline, is about the slickest, swingingest con man who ever took the world for a ride.
Yeah, and the film stars Harrison Ford.
Paging Mr. Ellis.
Wait. We don't have time for all of that. I guess we'll just have to teach him the ABCs of Harrison Ford. A is for... B.
Boring conversation anyway.
C.
Chewie, we're home.
D.
Don't mess with me, man.
E.
Everything we need is here.
F.
Fire!
G.
Get off my plane.
H.
Fire.
I.
I ain't nobody, dork.
J is for
Don't call me Junior.
K. L.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
M.
Major, move!
N.
Never tell me the odds.
O.
Bring him out!
P.
Pull over, I'll shoot out your tire!
Q.
Quit fooling around with that kid! Get down in the cart!
R.
Roger!
S.
I'll see you in hell.
T is for
No ticket.
U.
Infiltrate his team by whatever means available.
V.
Venice.
W.
Willie Bill was born in Pecos.
X.
X marks the spot.
Y.
Yahoo!
And Z. The rehabilitation scenes intensify the frustration of Henry, Sarah, and the therapists as little progress is made and hope of gaining function or normalcy seems to be slipping away. Henry needs a savior, and just as we'd lost hope, here comes soon-to-be audience favorite Bradley, played by Bill Nunn, who enters listening to music.
No service till you turn that shit off!
Actually, we're in the 90s, so he's ditched the boombox for the ubiquitous Walkman. He enters 90s style, dancing, singing. See, Henry Turner didn't need doctors and experts. He needs a dude, a chum. Although I'd pay good money to see Radio Raheem teach Harrison Ford the difference between zoo animals. Bradley enters gregariously, flirting with the ladies, and introduces the only thing that could be considered a catchphrase for the movie regarding Henry.
I gotta get me some of that.
Bradley's going to Miyagi this whole thing. He's got faster, cooler ways to adapt Henry, like putting hot sauce on his eggs to get a reaction out of him. Pretty soon, Henry's not only walking and talking, he can state complex sentences and can even say the catchphrase of the movie.
You gotta get you some of that.
He's even learned to paint his favorite subject, Ritz crackers.
I'm in a bright, happy mood today. It's a good day to be alive. So let's do a painting that reflects that. There's a happy little
box of Ritz crackers.
See them? Just sort of visualize these in your mind.
The time has come for Henry's return to society. It seems like a happy ending is upon us until Henry admits that he doesn't want to go home. And while talking about his family, he sadly has to admit the reality that he doesn't know those people. But he soon begins to heal the damaged relationship with his daughter, which it turns out is best healed with Henry's newly acquired childlike point of view. Henry and Rachel are able to relate to each other finally. Rachel spills her milk, and her expectation of being yelled at gives way when her newly imperfect father says he does it all the time, and spills his own milk as a joke.
In essence, he switched places with his daughter. In terms of performance, it's a body-switching movie, like Big. He doesn't literally switch places, but like the best of that genre, it shows the superiority of having a childlike outlook on life to an adult who's forgotten it. This is showcased no better than a scene in the library where the daughter is trying to study, but is constantly distracted by, basically, a kid brother, throwing things at her, teasing her, and making her laugh.
Dad, I'm serious.
I know. Very.
I love the little scamp face as he pulls another piece of paper out there.
He is a scamp, isn't he?
And just when you think their bonding couldn't make a more epic leap, he reveals to her the reason he's distracting her is he can't read. And now the daughter has to teach her father to read. Another epic, heartwarming twist in a script from a writer that's definitely going places.
Finally, thanks to his daughter, with a little help by Hooked on Phonics, he's able to put a sentence together.
Mother. Mother.
My mommy hurt my head.
You did it! Hooked on phonics worked for me.
You gotta get you some of that.
Henry and Rachel are so excited he starts shouting, "I can read! I can read!"
I can read! I can read!
And they run into the kitchen to celebrate with his wife. And they're all hopping up and celebrating as a culmination of a long journey of connecting with loved ones and the English language as a whole.
But if you're the least bit cynical, it's stupid. I mean, I'm pretty sure on the DVD this chapter is called Oscars for Your Consideration. Hey, Oscars, you know that new sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this.
Ajax. This is Ajax.
Great, you can read. Okay, let's move on to the case of Chicago Teamsters versus Union Carbide. Oh, too fast? All right, maybe, but the lawyers at Henry's firm have run out of people to feel superior to. So in recognition of Henry's past service to the firm, they invite him back to work. They throw a big party. Well, they'll all toast him and cheer his name. But like me at my high school reunion, he claims to not remember any of them. Henry then says his daughter likes strawberries, and he's pretty sure a woman in a blue dress is his mother. It's poignant dialogue in a crucial moment of regarding Henry, and also could be a scene from any David Lynch movie.
Henry tries to do legal work despite the distractions of his new dog and conversations with Sarah about Malamars. Somehow, he focuses enough to re-examine his famous last case and realizes there's evidence to overturn the decision against the diabetic Mr. Matthews. Evidence that clearly was ignored by mean, pre-gunshot Dick Henry. Well, in New York, as they say, Henry Turner's small heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Later that day, Henry and Rachel are making cookies, and he learns that Dick Henry's made plans to send his daughter off to boarding school. A fun fact in the director's cut regarding Henry, science fiction technology creates an alternate timeline Henry, who never gets shot, and battles nicer chill Henry in a junkyard car crusher in a battle for Rachel's soul. But in the cut released to the public, Henry just gets sad.
Sarah suggests that they leave the city and relocate to a smaller, cheaper place, one that can be purchased on a Ritz Crackers painting sales budget. Henry eventually gives in to the idea that Rachel will go to the private school, and he helps her adjust by lying to her. Yep, he lies. He shares a story he can remember about how he was scared to go to school when he was young and how he ended up laughing about it. But he has no memory of this. But Rachel doesn't know that. Or does she? Because her goodbye to Dad is a request for him to take care of the dog and teach him how to sit. Pretty baller move asking Dad to teach the dog to do something that he only remastered a few weeks ago.
What hasn't Henry remastered? Sex.
Whoa!
Something Sarah points out on the balcony that evening, and pretty soon it seems the next legal case Henry's going to mull is whether he was of proper mind to give consent for Sarah to be all over him. The next day, Sarah and Henry are holding hands in the park and, gasp, kissing. This catches the attention of Phyllis and Daniel, Sarah's friends, who inform them of a housewarming they're invited to on the 20th. Sarah says they'll attend, then Phyllis and Daniel awkwardly disengage from the horrors of Sarah and Henry's PDA and go back to focusing on their own abstention.
Meanwhile, the law firm is patronizing Henry, giving him hacky legal jobs to attend and rerouting LegalZoom calls to his desk when finally he's told he can no longer access old case files where, no doubt, he was shifty in his legal doings. It's here that Henry realizes he wants to be regarded differently than being regarded as a lawyer when being regarded.
The first part of the party of the first part shall be known in this contract as the first part of the party of the first part.
At Phyllis's everyone talks shit about each other housewarming party, Henry enjoys snacks and chats up the waitstaff, but eventually he and Sarah can't avoid the conversations their supposed good friends are having about him, calling him such a shame and an imbecile and an idiot for investing in an unknown stock such as Microsoft.
To cheer up, Sarah brings Bradley over, and we feel it too, as adding Bill Nunn to anything automatically cheers one up. Henry discloses to him that he doesn't fit in at the law firm, and Bradley counters by saying he has bad knees. The end. And credits roll. Actually, no, that's not the case, because Bradley has more details about how a knee injury in college football put him on a path to being a physical therapist and turning people like Henry's life around. We love this story, but mostly because Bradley calls Henry Hank.
A housewarming letter from Bruce spurs Henry to look closer at the stationery, which matches that of special letters kept amongst Sarah's personal things. He learns from these old letters that Bruce and Sarah had an affair during the Dick Henry era. Henry, relieved that it's 1991, where these sort of affairs can't hide in emails, gets sad again and sets out to wander the earth.
You know, like Kane in Kung Fu.
He eventually is confronted by Linda, a fellow attorney who says she had an affair with Dick Henry, confirming everyone is unhappy and sleeps with everyone else in corporate America. At this point, Henry realizes that he has a Tyler Durden inside of him, but rather than shoot himself in the head, because clearly he can't die from that, he decides again to be sad. Especially when Linda says the flings she had with Dick Henry used to happen at the Ritz, and now Henry has to burn 40 or so toiled-over paintings.
Henry then visits the screwed-over plaintiff from the beginning of the film and declares that there was evidence purposefully overlooked in their case, and he gives her the evidence. She asks why, and he replies, "I changed."
He must have done something to us.
He then resigns from the law firm. Realizing it's a plot point not yet wrapped up, Henry heads back home to reconcile with Sarah and pulls out an old line he used on her when they first met.
I know this great blowfish place.
This could only work on Sarah, right? Ford couldn't get away with this line in other films.
So as a scientist, you do a lot of research?
Always.
And what sort of research would you do on me?
I know this great blowfish place.
Fraulein, do you permit me?
I usually don't.
I usually don't either.
In that case, I permit you.
I know this great blowfish place.
I love you.
I know this great blowfish place.
They make up and head to the final plot wrap-up with Rachel, pulling her out of school because of mandated vaccines or something. Either way, she's out and thrilled to be back with Mom and Dad. They exit the school, and Hans Zimmer's music fires up. No.
Okay, sorry, boy. Not that Hans Zimmer theme. This one.
Ah, yes, that's it, Paul. That's the one. That is the music of a man redeemed by being shot in the head.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Regarding Henry.
Everything you wanted to know about Regarding Henry, but were afraid to ask because you might get shot.
You know, I think we've established now that this is not a horribly deep movie, so that may have been everything you need to know about Regarding Henry. There may not be anything more, except, of course, there's some behind-the-scenes stuff, which we'll talk about now. And Regarding Henry, of course, came out in 1991. Big year for Annette Bening. She later appeared in Bugsy, and so
same year.
A 1-2 punch of two of the biggest stars of all time, working with Harrison Ford and Warren Beatty.
So unlike the two leads in this movie, who clearly both wanted to be nominated for Oscars, only one of them got nominated, and it wasn't for this movie.
Yeah. No, I don't think she was nominated either. I think we looked ahead at that. She was not nominated for Bugsy, despite its 6 or 7 nominations that it got.
Oh, she wasn't nominated for that. Oh,
now,
gosh.
Here's what she won. Jumping ahead a bit, she won the London Film Critics Newcomer of the Year award.
Oh.
So there you go.
Right.
And that didn't even include Bugsy, because within the past year, she appeared in The Grifters,
right,
which I think she was nominated for.
That was how America kind of first found out about her, right?
Yeah. Postcards from the Edge, which she had a great, funny little part in that. Valmont, which I never saw. And Guilty by Suspicion. You ever see Guilty by Suspicion?
No. What is that? Who's in that? I know that name.
It's I've always wanted to see it. I think it's about the communism in the film industry with De Niro, and it's a big Irwin Winkler
it is.
film.
You're right. It is.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see it. You know, God, to think about those movies now that are like 20 years old that I wanted to see that. And 20 years passed. That's probably one of them.
Okay, so Benning's in that, as is George Wendt, written and directed by Irwin Winkler. Wow.
Yeah. So it was this big. He didn't do much of that, but that was his. That was one of them. Must have had a thing about Hollywood, about people coming after producers. He's like, I'm gonna make a film about it.
This has got to be like a passion project, I would think, to actually direct it for Winkler.
Yeah. I mean, he's got an Oscar, so he's do whatever he wants.
Right.
J.J. Abrams, famously wrote this script as Jeffrey Abrams, but even more so, he has a co-producer credit on this movie, which I find amazing considering that he was all of like 25 years old. In fact, he appears in the film in that brief moment as a delivery boy, and you're you're like going, wait, what? Who is that? You have to double check that you think it's him, and it is him.
Yeah.
And he's a young punk writing a Harrison Ford movie directed by Mike Nichols that he ends up getting a co-producer credit on.
Even before this, he had made all of his 8mm films, and then he was able to digitize all these 8mm films. And when Spielberg found out about that, he needed someone to digitize his 8mm films. So this young kid got tapped to do that. That might even be before this. And Griffith Newman has called him basically the Forrest Gump of the 90s movies. Like, he's just got all these weird little, and then he shows up in this, and he's a producer on that. It's like, wait, where's this guy coming from?
Did you know he wrote Taking Care of Business?
No.
A Rolodex movie with, I think, Belushi and Grodin. Is he the other guy in it? and he, at this point, was already a script doctor on movies like Casper and Picture Perfect. So I mean, you could say he was in line for a producer credit after 3 movies, but after those 3 movies, I guess would be my question.
What probably happens is this one gets bought as a spec, and they go, oh, this is a very good script. Obviously, a lot of actors are going to want to play this challenge. They go, this is going to be great for Oscars. So I bet that was bought and in production, and because of that, he was getting all this other writing work. Well, the other writing work had been so successful, his agency is like, wow, should make him a producer on it. Look at this guy's gold, you know.
And let's not forget he later wrote Gone Fishing. So
did he?
Or maybe around this time, and it was sold and made later.
Is Gone Fishing the one with the grumpy old men reunion?
It's Danny Glover and Joe Pesci, so kind of. But his next movie after this, he was an executive producer. So he went boop, boop, boop. He did Forrest Gump his way right up into that, and it was Forever Young with Mel Gibson. So he's working with nothing but the biggest names here, you know, back to back, Ford and Gibson in the 90s.
Yeah.
But this Ford movie doesn't have the budget of some of the franchises, $25 million. So it grosses 43 domestic, which, you know, might go, that's not so great. Of course, at 91, it's still not so bad. But then 88 million worldwide on 25, still pretty good.
Yeah.
For the for the Phase 3.
Phase 3 Harrison Ford. This is the last movie of Phase 3.
Yes.
Phase 4 begins with Patriot Games.
Yeah, boy, and then we get on a run, don't we?
A return to form. Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, The Fugitive, Air Force One, and Sabrina. There's always an outlier in each phase.
There's always one. Yeah, there's always one. The tagline for this movie, the story of a man who had everything, but found something more. That's on most of the posters you're going to see. But here's what's even... But how about this one? This is the one I don't see anywhere, but it was listed on IMDb, so maybe showed up in Europe or on a late DVD or something. His life was based on power, success... Wait. His life was based on power, success, and ruthlessness until a bullet made him think again.
Oh, jeez. I guess some people get off easy, have their son make a wish that they would stop being such a lawyer, and then then he can no longer. I guess some kids get off easy that way. This one the father had to get shot.
Yeah, and I think they have fake Don LaFontaine doing the trailer, bringing that same gravitas.
Henry Turner's life was one of power, ambition, prestige, and glamour. Then in one tragic moment, he lost it all.
So how about your first time seeing this, Adam? When was it?
Now, that was during quarantine.
Wait, you only just saw this for the first time recently?
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess this is going to come along around the time of going to college. And so I think I'm much more like, let's watch some art films, baby. I'm in all the film programs and mass media and all that stuff. And I'm like, and I always just kind of openly rejected. And I can't help myself while watching it this time, as much as I love Harrison Ford. And the movie is good. Outright rejecting just a Oscar grub.
I picked up your slack. I was working at a movie theater and saw it once, and then, of course, many times thereafter, scenes of it all the time, just like closing down the concession stand and walking in and watching my favorite Bill Nunn scenes or whatever. But I realized that I just can't build nostalgia for a movie like I did for that era's movies again. Not just because of how much time has passed, but even if I set out to like have a great memory, but I just don't see them as much as the time I worked in a movie theater. When I worked in a movie theater and walk in for every laugh line of Crocodile Dundee just to hear the people crack up, or walk in at the grossest part of Alien just to hear the people go, what the, or Aliens, I should say, the second one, going into Last Crusade countless times to watch the tank chase, then those movies just build up a whole different position in your brain and in your heart,
which is cool.
That nothing today can, for me.
But what's cool is you get to keep that Regarding Henry forever. I only get the Regarding Henry that I watched 2 years ago. You get to have that. And for me, working in the movie theater 93, the amount of time it took to close down the concession stand and take off your clothes and all that sort of stuff after the final showings had started was the exact amount of time that it took to Richard Kimball to get to the tunnel with Tommy Lee Jones. And I didn't kill my wife. I saw that scene every night leaving that theater. And then sometimes it'd be like, I'm just going to sit down and watch the rest of this thing. I did that many nights, yeah. Especially The Fugitive. It ain't going to get boring from here.
Nope. So, yeah, I mean, and hopefully they're, younger kids working in movie theaters now building those same nostalgia moments for Marvel movies, perhaps, yeah. But anyway, let's talk about the story of this one. You get Harrison Ford. How do you know he's a jerk right away? Smoking. Have we seen smoking Harrison Ford yet? That's new.
I don't think we have. This is the first time he's smoked, and this is only the second time he's played a villain, if you count Mosquito Coast, and we do.
But yeah, I mean, he didn't smoke. You'd think if he was going to smoke, it'd be as Deckard, but he didn't.
You're right.
So
there's smoke in every room he's in Blade Runner, but I don't think he's doing it.
Yeah. So
smoking.
So boom, jerk. He's a jerk on all fronts when the movie starts.
He's a jerk, but he's not getting a massage or putting, so he's not that type of villain. He's just more of a If you see a guy getting a massage or putting, you're like, oh, that's a bad guy.
And it's interesting because he has the he's just so not a dick in his movies.
All right.
But he has the stature to be one. So once you make him one, you see him sort of just like tower through a room or something with the big black long coat and the slicked back hair. You're like, whoa, this guy is a jerk. And so he pulls that off right down to, pointing in his daughter's face. That pointing is supposed to be reserved for Bellocs and 3POs, but he does it to his daughter early on, right in her face. And the only time in the whole movie that he gets, well, I mean, obviously there's your points recap for the movie, but it's one big one right in his daughter's face, and that's no good.
Yeah, and of all people to point at, and it really makes the point. Obviously, he's a detached father. He's on that cell phone too much. He's never going to make it to the play at the end of this movie. But obviously things take a turn when he goes and gets himself shot.
Yeah,
which is shocking. So shocking because the other thing is, and we've been talking about this all along, in Frantic or Witness, you cannot discard the baggage of Harrison Ford. He is too simply an icon, which has been the challenge of Phase 3. But much like we're saying in Frantic, I know this guy can punch a guy, boy, when he finally gets a chance, and then he does, and things like that we're like, we can't shed his baggage, we want him to be innocent and presumed innocent, or, oh my, no, there's no way, because of the baggage, he cannot be guilty of that. So in this one as well, we're carrying the baggage of like who Harrison Ford is, he's using that stature and we're uncomfortable with how he's using that. And then when he gets shot, you can't pick a better actor to get shot, frankly, at this time, because of the baggage we have for him. He has been shot maybe 3 times in all of his movies, but he has been missed hundreds of times by bullets,
Yes.
And so when this guy holds up the gun in our head, he's going to dodge this, he's going to punch that guy, or whatever. I mean, we know, even though that's not the plot regarding Henry, but in your head, you just can't help but think like, oh, this guy's going to get his. And then he shoots him right in the heart. And you're like, oh, that's not an injury that people just get up from. Like, Indiana Jones never got shot in the heart. He got shot in this soft part of the arm, just enough for Marion to wrap a thing around, and then he's good. And then he gets shot in the head. That is a very different ending to Raiders if that happens in Marion's bar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and there were John Leguizamo said in his autobiography he got death threats because Harrison Ford was so beloved.
Oh, wow.
Like,
oh, my gosh. Wow. That goes back to my whole thing about him being the John Wayne of this generation. So Bruce Dern was the first person ever to kill John Wayne. And, boy, the death threats he got for years. So that's really fascinating.
I always thought Ford played getting shot really well. The sort of confusion and the like, no way this would ever happen to me.
Yes.
Sort of just like, wait a second. The confusion that he shows and how shocking it happens because it happened so early in the story.
Yeah.
Like we're just developing Henry. He's got the great hair, like I said, and thank God he didn't get shot in the hair because that is great hair. And he needed to have
it would have bounced off this hair, I think. But.
But it needed to be floppy after he becomes a better dad.
Oh, you're right. Because I remember when his hair got super floppy later in the movie, and I was like, oh, that's like, what was his haircut at the beginning? I knew it was pretty smooth, but yeah, it's like slicked back, right?
Yeah. But there is one thing interesting that he becomes after he gets shot, not just a better dad, and he has to reestablish his relationship with his wife, and he has to realize that his job is shallow and not doing him any favors and being a good person. But the directness, we talked about this briefly, I think, that he has with people is something I think we would all like to adopt. Like he just kind of says, oh, goodbye, or whatever, like when he wants to leave a scene, when he wants to leave a room or something.
Yeah.
Boy, that would be great to just go, well, goodbye, and just
goodbye, yeah.
be out of there. Instead we're hanging out, talking to people we don't want to talk to, listening to stories we don't want to listen to. Well, I got to go, and then just leave. That'd be great. Well, we should all adopt a little bit of Henry.
Because in early versions, when he would play puppy dog Harrison Ford, or let's say Getting Straight, like a total this kind of guy sort of thing, and you're like, wow, that's weird for Harrison Ford. And then he kind of keeps going back to it. I didn't expect him in Working Girl. In that, he's kind of got this puppy dog kind of thing too, and so you're like, and so then in this, it's like, he's basically at points in his career has been working up to playing the full puppy dog. And he's good at it.
Matched by a number of good Annette Bening moments later in the
she's
film.
so good in this
I mean,
movie.
she's just holding it together the whole movie, trying to be an adult for the both of them until it finally she feels safe to let it go. And, at the end when he says, I'm quitting, whatever, and she's like, "Gah!" Like she finally just breaks down. She's quite good.
I mean,
Peak Annette Bening. Peak Annette Bening and her acting powers and...
Yeah, it's very similar to Helen Mirren, the holding it in the whole time of the complete breakdown.
Yeah, so Ford was concerned about playing a lawyer in back-to-back films,
right?
Presumed innocent in this, but then he realized, 10 minutes in, law isn't what the story's about, so he was like, but it's very similar opening. I zoom in on something legal,
right.
The courthouse, and in Presumed Innocent's case, it was the jury box, and then eventually there's a monologue. There's no music till after the monologue in Presumed Innocent, and here it starts with the Hans Zimmer music. You know he's a jerk in this one. We weren't sure he was a jerk in Presumed Innocent.
Yeah, and you're trading off the gravitas of I am a lawyer and the sort of idea of what is the law? What do lawyers do? The very lofty kind of thing. And in this one, they take your expectations of that, and immediately he's screwing over an old couple who are just probably on, public assistance or whatever, or Medicare, Medicaid, and to screw them out of a settlement that they rightly belong to them for a pharmaceutical company, working on behalf of the pharmaceutical company. So that's a jerk.
This is one of Ford's great moments of acting, and that scene where he gets shot. But people don't talk about him enough as being an actor who looks into all this stuff. We just talked about in Presumed Innocent, the research he did with the director. They would go to trials and watch stuff. Here he met a lawyer who got in a car accident and changed his life. Kind of similarly. So, he does that work. He's, even if he's not a braggart about it, he's not a braggart about anything. That's what we like about Harrison Ford, He's just quietly doing the work, and you'll see it on the screen. So
this phase is frankly incredible because to try and shed the baggage of Han Solo and Indiana Jones, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And just the variety that Phase 3 has, ending with this, another completely different style, a completely different form. And this is basically, in terms of his acting, the body switching movie where he becomes a kid. And his kid has to become the adult. In that library scene, she's the adult telling him to stop it. She's the one that has to teach him to read. And we said during this, you're like, who else can perform this part? I'm like, Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks only. So he's doing everything that Tom Hanks can do, he can do as well, and better.
Yeah, I mean, that was a genre like we already referenced, the dad who learns to be a better person. And the body switching movies, I think, we're part of that. So there was a run on that back in that day, I think. But maybe it was a bend against Reaganism that we just came out of, and now it's time to punish all the big capitalists.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing you could beat up in movies was, corporations and that sort of stuff.
Oh, speaking of the beginning of the movie, I mentioned Hans Zimmer brings the music in, and he
was he known at this time?
Oh yeah, he was. Well, I think he did Driving Miss Daisy, and so he has reflections of that throughout this. It's sort of the lighter Hans Zimmer that we know, more reminiscent of Driving Miss Daisy than the bombastic, noisy scores that he's known for now. But like Williams, in Presumed Innocent, right? Williams came on the scene and took a break for a long time. Zimmer does the same. He has the music up front, then we get into the headshot and the recovery, and it's not until we know he's going to be okay and he's getting better and doing his physical therapy with Bill Nunn that suddenly Hans Zimmer creeps back in with bloom, 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 bloom. He's bringing, I got a little nice theme we could bring here. Otherwise, I went away for a while because you don't need me for all that getting shot stuff.
Yeah, with as omnipresent a composer as John Williams, it is so notable and definitely a technique when his music just drops right out. And you were right, the whole time after he gets shot, you do not hear any music till he's healing again and start learning to read and all that sort of stuff.
And there's certainly a choice to be made if you wanted to put music in there for dramatic effect, but that's not Mike Nichols' style, so we didn't get when he gets shot,
Yeah. But you bring up a good point, Mike Nichols' style.
You want to talk about the lack thereof?
Does this have Mike Nichols' style?
Does he have a style?
Well, yeah.
He's got a type of content that he chooses to direct that may or may not fit what's norm with him. But but he's not going to make a bad movie. But this one's very 1991.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's just like, it's so uncynical for him that I'm like, I mean, watching Working Girl, and hey, I could be completely wrong about Working Girl. Maybe that opening number about hailing America and hailing, over corporate structures and this sort of stuff, I'm like, oh, that's irony. Like, that's Mike Nichols. That's an FU to corporations. In this one, I can't find any of that. I'm like, it's a very plainly told. I couldn't tell you who directed this if I just watched it.
Yeah, it's pretty sentimental. It's pretty melodramatic, and it doesn't have a signature directing style. But I want to dig back into that music for a second because there's
Zimmer.
Pretty cool credits in it.
Composer of Monkey Trouble.
Well, there you go. I looked him up. Bobby
him up.
McFerrin is all the rage in 1991, so he does backing vocals on this score. But
He does?
If I could tell you where it was, I expected to hear some or something, if it's Bobby McFerrin. But I didn't hear him anywhere in the score, but he's credited.
Well, but I have a feeling because Zimmer's music, it's all like this, it's almost like the score to like Mosquito Coast or something. It's like this sort of like, it's the long singing. So maybe he's the voice that's doing some of those really, he's not doing, the Bobby McFerrin thing, but his voice, which is so good, is just being used as those long, like, kind of notes.
Yeah. I guess I remember more of the theme.
That's cool.
Is that
the theme?
I think so. Yeah. Or it's a theme from some movie around that.
Yeah.
But the other interesting thing to note, and this just sends me off on a tangent, is the band also features not just Bobby McFerrin, but the band composing the score and the musicians include Kyle Eastwood. Now, every time I hear about Kyle Eastwood, I'm thinking, oh yeah, Honky Tonk Man. He was featured on the poster of that movie from 1982 with his dad, Clint. And it's no surprise he went into music because Clint's so into jazz. But the guy has been a session man ever since. He has like 9 albums, Kyle Eastwood. And he's appeared on a musician in every one of his father's films. Not every one of his father's films, but every film he's worked on has been one of his father's films. Or a film, Rails and Ties, directed by his sister, Allison. So the only film he's had anything to do with outside of whether he's acting and he's played bit parts outside of the co-starring role in Honky Tonk Man, or in the musician role, the only thing he hasn't done that hasn't been with a member of the family is regarding Henry.
For anybody new to the show, if you want to know how much of a movie guy Paul is, when he sees the credit for, not Scott Eastwood, who is it?
Kyle
Eastwood. Paul, a lot of us go, Kyle Eastwood. Oh, I recognize that last name. But Paul Preston goes, oh, from Honky Tonk Man. That's the difference between Paul and the rest of us.
Yeah, but well, there you go. You know why? It was on HBO when I was a kid. So there, that's it. A lot, and you could see
it's the plot of Honky Tonk Man. I don't want to get off on a tangent here.
I think they're both musicians.
Yeah.
Clint singing, as much as that was. Who knows how often
was
that
it the inspiration for the
happened.
WWE character, the Honky Tonk Man?
No, that's a strong no. But speaking of old dudes, all right, we got Donald Moffat here in the first of back-to-back appearances. Well, not back-to-back, but he'll show up later in Clear and Present Danger. Alongside Harrison Ford. And then it's just a cavalcade of character actors, right? You got James Rebhorn showing up, not for a long time, one quick scene, but that guy was great and died too soon.
Oh, Rebhorn's no longer with us?
Rebhorn is no longer with us.
Yeah, this is a character actor bouquet. And then who's the guy that plays the jerk who welcomes him back? Bruce Altman. Now, we couldn't find him. Like, he's a guy we know, but this is really his big, part, right?
And his first.
And his first.
Yeah, he played a jerk in future movies as well.
Okay. Yeah. Great jerk. And great 80s jerk. I mean, look, you're going to dress up an 80s jerk. What's he wearing, Paul?
Bright blue shirt, white collar suspenders. Yeah.
Correct. So, yeah, he's, and that's when Henry gets welcomed back to the office. But we're jumping ahead a little bit. So the amazing thing is, he gets shot immediately as an audience member, even though I know that this movie, I never seen it. But as an audience member, you go, he's dead. He just got shot in the heart. He's dead. Oh, what? He's still alive? He just got shot in the head. Okay, he's dead. Now, we know in this movie he stays alive. By the way, interesting little detail in the movie that I thought was really cool, and this is for J.J. Abrams' compliment, is that when they describe what happened when he got shot, the shot on the head, the guy goes, a lot of your brain is redundant memory. There are portions you can completely lose and still maintain full functionality. And he goes, however, the shot at the heart stifled the blood flow to the important part of the brain. It's actually the heart shot that causes him to lose all of himself. I thought that was like, wow, that's an interesting technical detail. Of course, you'd think it was the head. And the very first thing the doctor says, no, I actually didn't hurt him. It was the heart shot that actually fried his brain. So, but he's there. He's in a coma. You know, we're now experiencing through Annette Bening's wonderful acting, you know, this thing. And all she wants is him to come out of the coma. He comes out of the coma and we're so elated and she's so elated, only to have her go in and realize he doesn't know who she is. He doesn't know how to walk. He doesn't know how to speak. And it's just like, oh, it's so devastating for her because she thought she was going to get the happy ending for the movie. Just he comes out of the coma and there he is again. And it's now it is signified 1,000 miles of bad road. This guy isn't your husband. He doesn't know who you are. So it's like, and yet you have this relationship you have to maintain and a life that you're going to try and get back to. And there is zero hope of that. That is a fascinating, you know, down moment when he looks at her so blankly and she's like, oh man, I didn't even realize.
They just did something like that on Saturday Night Live, which was really wrong. It was a newlywed game show. And the woman had to guess her husband's greatest fear. She's like, spiders? He's like, no. And he holds up his card and it says something like, my biggest fear is that you injure yourself and I have to feed you and take care of you and then he can help you go to the bathroom for the rest of it, something like that. And they're like, what? You know, and that's his biggest fear. He was being honest, but yeah, that would be painful.
And
awful.
Then you know, so they have to teach him shapes.
And we'd have no movie, but anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We still have to have a movie here.
We still have that movie, so he's not that bad.
But so he's got to learn to speak, to spell, to talk. It's like, and that's where Bill Nunn comes in, is right at the point where we're like, the guy can't tell a triangle from a square. Like, how's any of this going to happen? Then Bill Nunn comes in. Classic 90s. He's got the Walkman on. He's listening to his tunes. He's got all the cool like catchphrases, and it kind of cracks Henry out of his little like stupor. He's like, "Oh, what's this? Who's this? I've never met this type of person because I've never met anybody besides the couple people around me." So it makes for a fun entrance for Bill Nunn. You're like, "All right, this guy's a lifeboat, a life preserver for this flailing movie, you know, or flailing, you know, family."
Yeah, the other doctors are so clinical. He comes in and he's all Radio Raheem about everything.
Yeah, Radio Raheem.
That was it's just 2 years from Radio Raheem, so I was all about Bill Nunn.
Wow,
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, Rebecca Miller shows up as well. One of her early scenes. Robin Bartlett, who ended up on Mad About You, plays Phyllis, the friend of Sarah's who gets the apartment, ends up smack talking Henry.
Pretends to be her friend. Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Kind of is her friend, but is more into the status than the friendship, you know?
Right. Well, and because the family has lost that status, so, you know, Henry and you even see at the beginning, it's only give you about 5 minutes, but they give you all the details of their life. They're going to dinners, they're lavish, this sort of, here's all their relationships, this sort of stuff. So they have this whole life that is, not only is her husband taken from her, this life is, and, you know, and all these people are all about the status. She doesn't have any income anymore. Her husband doesn't have a job anymore, you know? So it's like, that is an interesting theme that gets in there that I think lesser writers would have forgotten. And then catches her talking bad about her, even though she was pretending to be her friend. And so now she's like, well, now the only person I kind of can trust is Henry. Like the rest of these people are, you know, and you know, so it's an interesting way that brings, because we've seen a lot of movies where obviously the husband has a problem, he's a bad father, he's going to have to fix that by the end of this movie, all that sort of stuff. But everything in this movie, as much as it feels like, I'm like, have I seen this before? I don't think I have. The creative solutions to tearing family apart, but then putting the family back together and how they do it is like utterly original, even though it feels like I've seen this kind of like Oscar movie before. So, I mean, yeah. Because I kept saying, I'm like, have we seen a daughter teach their father to read? It feels like we would have, but I can't name a movie, you know?
Yeah. Camian Allen, who eventually changed her name to Mickey Allen, plays the daughter, and this is her only film.
I was going to say, I've never seen this girl in anything else.
And this is a weird credit. The only other thing on IMDb is that she appeared on the George Lucas talk show as herself in 2021. So I'd be curious to check that out.
She did? Oh, we're going to find a clip of that. That's Griffin Newman's show.
So this is your only appearance in a film? Like, I've got to watch that and wonder what the hell's going on there.
Do you know the premise of the George Lucas talk show?
I do, yes.
Okay, yeah, right. It's George Lucas and Watto hosting a talk show. It's, very excited. That's cool that she's on that. I mean, also cool that someone pulled her out because, she's probably just living a private life, hasn't acted ever since.
Yeah, exactly. But, so the only thing about it, well, not the only thing about it, this is an okay film, but the ending, this is the thing that bothers me. Tell me what you think about this.
It's a good movie. It does everything it needs to excellently.
It's a good movie. Yeah, it's a little too simple almost in its dealings with the various ends of the spectrum of either of its, the power and the simpleness and the success and the, family love and all that.
It's a crowd pleaser.
I remember seeing this in a movie called Non-Stop with Liam Neeson.
Okay.
Like that, there's a whole drama on the plane. They land the plane. He just kind of goes around to everybody and wraps up the plot. And he kind of does that in this movie, too. He goes here and he tells this person whatever. I'm going to go up and wrap up all the scenes of the plot. Crazy Stupid Love did that, too, which is a movie everybody loves. But somehow everybody ends up in one character's backyard just so they can wrap up all their plots before the credits roll. It's just a weird... I don't know how you avoid it sometimes if you got a lot of stuff in the mix and you do have to finish your movie. But when I watch it happen, I go, it just seems a little stagnant, a little, it seems unnatural that I always get taken out for a second. He kind of does that here. He goes around, he says, well, we're done. I'm not going to work here anymore. And I love you, daughter. And we're taking you out of school. Like, it's just, he goes around, he does all this stuff. And then the credits literally roll. It's done doing all that.
I know. It's true. You're right. The second it wraps up, you're like, that's it. Oh, that's it. Well, okay.
Yeah, man, he did everything.
He did everything. Did all the shit he needed to do.
He told the jerk he was a jerk. He told the...
Yeah,
exactly.
But the innocence thing is really cool because obviously you and I embrace innocence quite a bit. We've been in improv school, and all of our friends that we choose to spend all our time with are a bunch of little kids still, even though they're our age, you know. So I do.
Did I go to Knott's Berry Farm Saturday? Yes. Did I ride the Supreme Scream? Yes.
Yes.
I'm a child. Guilty.
You've passed the polygraph test. You are Paul Preston.
Yes.
But I, as much as I want to rebel in the back of my head and go, well, the one that really just seals it for me is, actually, let me explain this. The flashes of cleverness are very good because when we realize that the way this father is going to reconnect with his daughter is because he is now the child. She now has to teach him. I love the scene when she ties her shoes and he goes, how'd you learn how to do that? And she goes, you taught me. And then she goes to the library to study and he won't stop making a nuisance and throwing paper at her. He's the little kid, he spills his milk at the breakfast and all this stuff that like really makes the kid and father bond together very quickly. Like you don't have to do a whole lot of stuff for us to go, oh, these two are going to have a good relationship going forward. So they kind of like wrap that up really efficiently, especially when she realizes he's distracting her in the library because he doesn't know how to read. And now the daughter has to teach her father how to read, which again sounds like it should be in 20 Oscar movies, and I don't think I've ever seen it. And then she does teach him to read, and then they get all excited. They run into the kitchen, and he starts shouting, I can read, I can read, I can read. And they're all jumping up and down, and I'm like, there's your Oscar clip. And it just feels so bullshit at that point.
Yeah. And of course, that's when Jerk walks in. The Jerk's like, what's going on here?
But then it's like a very
how are you having fun on my time?
Yeah. There's other jerks to wrap up the plot too. But but I give it points for cleverness and how it got there. It's just running around saying, I can read. Congratulations, here's your nomination,
Yeah.
He also
and it didn't get any. So speaking of that, all it got was that London Film Critics thing I mentioned. Mickey Allen was nominated for Best Young Actress starring in a motion picture at the Young Artist Awards, whatever those are. Okay. And I even wanted to find out what she's up to.
Before Nickelodeon had awards?
Her name on Wikipedia doesn't have a clickable link, so there's not even a write-up on her.
Oh.
So she really just got out as a kid. Maybe her parents just said, that was fun, let's get you out of there so you can have a life.
Well, what's so interesting is she's very unconventional. She looks very boyish, and you said she changed her name, so she may have actually, changed genders as well. But she's a very unique looking girl, and you kind of feel like you've seen her in other movies, but you're like, nah, maybe I'm thinking of Danny Cooksey. I don't know, but
Thora Birch.
Thora Birch.
Actually,
yeah.
Thora Birch shows up in Patriot Games, so we'll see her next.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But so I got the feeling, because I hadn't seen her in anything else, and that she's so unique, and also not really like acting. She's like, they clearly found something naturalistic that they liked about how she related, because she's very like shut off a lot of times. Her and her dad aren't getting along.
She's getting the finger in her face from Dad. Yeah, I mean, any break from that, she's
she got the Harrison Ford point, and he reserves that for like terrorists in France and stuff, so she's getting that. Yeah. But so I thought maybe she wasn't an actor, and they're just like, let's cast this person who's got a lot of personality, and Mike Nichols likes her, and liked her in the audition. So I thought, maybe they picked a non-actor to just kind of be more naturalistic in this. So
J.J. Abrams' first son's name? Take a guess.
Henry.
It's Henry.
Oh,
crazy.
That's great. Named him after Indiana Jones. That's wonderful.
Mostly bad reviews. I don't think that surprises us, but Canby, Travers, Ebert at 2 Ebert, even so. All lukewarm to negative, trivializing big issues, slick tearjerker, obvious and shallow contrivance, easy emotional payoffs. And people said this movie did for getting shot in the head what Pretty Woman did for prostitution. Ouch. People.
Wow. Who wrote that?
People. Like, they'd say nothing deep about anything.
Oh, my gosh.
And that leads to
Meanwhile,
a 45%.
People Weekly was like, he's buying a handbag just like us. So there's a difference in the two.
Exactly. Earlier in the same article. So that leads to 45% on RottenTomatoes.com. And, of course, the cinema score with audiences, A-. But that shows you the ongoing and always and forever disparity between critics and audiences. Audiences just don't care what critics think.
No. Nope. The critics are just there to give them some information about it and go, okay, but I don't need your opinion, dude. Tell me what the movie's about. I don't need your opinion, dude.
But this kind of sums up the movie well from Wikipedia. The film was nominated in 2006 by the American Film Institute for their 100 Years, 100 Cheers list, but was not selected.
Oh, it definitely deserves to be nominated. It's a heart warmer. Yeah, but I can read. Oh, shut up, movie.
So let's go through the list of essentials. I mentioned the point, right in Mickey Allen's face when he was apologizing.
Right before he went out to get his smokes and got shot, right? Like that's the moment before, I think, right?
Yeah, right before that.
Look, I just want to tell you, I'm sorry about what I said earlier, and you're a good kid.
Well, he's making her speak Latin and stuff.
I know. He's such a prick father. That is such a great addition to the cold father thing of like, let's say that in Latin, in Greek. Isn't that like, he's become right, Henry Jones Sr.
There you go. Yeah. They didn't exactly have a great relationship.
Yeah. That's an interesting connection.
Yeah. A righteous anger. There is one great moment of righteous anger. Very much like the, my wife, goddammit, from Frantic, when he's had enough of Emmanuel Sainer just doing all her BS and needs to keep her on track with he's trying to find his wife. He was talking to Sarah about his affair or something like that, and she's going, you were a jerk or something like that. We Sarah ends up sleeping with the jerk, right? And so she's like trying to explain that you weren't the same, and he goes, I don't remember what I was like, Sarah. So he has that Harrison Ford, I didn't kill my wife moment. You find this man, all that, he gets that righteous anger in there. He has one moment of that actually late in the film once he's piecing everything in together and realizing what he's piecing together might hurt.
Yeah. Well, do we have to give the movie credit for that too? That the affair thing and how that comes about, because much like Presumed Innocent, we are dropped in. We don't know what he did the night before. We don't know what their relationship was before. So this movie does, and I feel like when we see a movie that hand feeds us and starts at the beginning and kind of feeds us all this, well, here's who they are, and here's the affair they're having, or whatever. But instead, since this begins where it begins, we only find that out after he has lost all of his memory, and that they were both having affairs. And you can't, of all the things you have to explain to your husband, who you now have to teach the ABCs, how to walk, all this sort of stuff. Like the idea that she was having an affair, he was having an affair, and more, and really, again, I've never seen this in another movie. The girl at the office. And I did note when he first comes back to the office, when he finally gets better, he goes back to the law office. You had the funniest line, Paul, when we were watching it, when they're teaching him the blocks and the ABCs and this sort of stuff. And you go, okay, let's move on to,
give me a counter argument to this legal problem. Oh, we're moving too fast.
Yeah, we're moving too fast. Now let's move on to
circle or square.
Yeah, Fetterman versus the District of Columbia. We're moving too fast.
No, she gives him looks, and there's something going on there.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of eyeball. Meanwhile, you got Rudy coming up to him in one of the best lines in the movie when he comes up and goes, "Hi, I'm Rudy. Rudy, good to have you back."
That is the best line.
Henry goes, "Who is that?" And Jerk has one of the best lines. Yeah, he's an asshole.
It's so good, and it's so
That's
random.
total JJ line of dialogue. Right
very much so. Very much. Yeah. He's an asshole. and that's the only thing you could get about Rudy when you see him too. You're like, what? Because he's dressed all weird. I can't remember what Rudy looked like, but it was so.
Yeah, he was just like a little. Not who's the whatever the British Jim from The Office is.
Right.
He looks like that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you look at her position, that the wife can eventually get to the topic of, by the way, I was having an affair. Obviously, it comes out because Henry finds out, but they can obviously get through that, get back into the relationship, figure that out. The girl at the office is a secret. Nobody knows about her. She can't tell anybody, and they were in love. So you realize when that is revealed that, and again, yes, of course, he goes and goes, sorry, we had an affair. Bye. It really is, sort of dealt at the end. But the idea of that you could tell the entire movie from her point of view, that she can't tell anybody. They were in love. He's never going to remember that. He doesn't even know what an affair is probably at this point too, So that was pretty fascinating, but again, kind of sloughed off, but great ideas. I mean, I give J.J. Abrams' script a lot of credit for doing a lot of stuff that felt familiar, but I don't think it's been done before.
Well, and then of course we get away with this with no punches. So the punches.
Nobody gets punched.
Count is not updated from regarding him. Although he should have punched a number of people, he does not punch anybody in this movie. So
I could have seen that. Should have just punched Rudy. Just at the very end. End credits. Just Rudy's like, "Hi,
I'm Rudy."
I'm Rudy. You're like, yeah, crowd pleaser, man.
If you have anything else to say about the film, chime in at The Movie Guys everywhere on social media or wherever you listen to the show. And of course, themovieguys.net. And that's our show regarding Henry.
Join us for the next show, which is all about Patriot games.
Stop it.
I am a prosecutor. I'm a part of the business of accusing, judging, and punishing. I explore the evidence of a crime and determine who is charged. I present my evidence to the jury, and
I know this great blowfish place.